All right, you got here the Sacred Heart Basilica in Paris. I've never been there, but it looks like a very elaborate structure. Look at all the stairs you got to go up to get there. And those are not hijabis. Those are apparently little pointy bushes going up all the way to the shrine.
Prove it.
Well, you know, at a glance, it looks like a bunch of hijabis in the yard.
Prove they're not hijabis.
Uh, and, well, you never know. But in any case, Sacred Heart Basilica in Paris.
1 second, Robert. 1 second.
Yes,
I'm an unstoppable fire hose of good ideas,
that's true.
but I forget them as fast as I come up with them. And so people like 2 years after I said something awesome will be like, "Hey, David, when are you going to do this?" And I'll be like, "Oh, that's hilarious." And I'd totally forgotten about it. Right.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, we have a skit called "Is It a Hijabi?" And you just go around and you're trying to figure out if things are hijabis or not.
Yeah, yeah. Like all those internet memes of guys confusing garbage bags for their wives,
Yeah.
things like that.
Anyway, there you go.
Anyway,
Sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt. But I had to say it because if I say it, then someone else will remember it and then tell me about it 2 years from now when I've forgotten about it.
well, we'll have to check in on that in July 2027. But in the meantime, we got Sacred Heart Basilica here, and a an individual of the Islamic faith went in there. He apparently saw all the hijabis in the yard and thought, this is the place for me. So he went in there
I can do some muta.
at Monday, July 7th at around 1:40 p.m. And he went up to the altar and apparently climbed up onto the altar while virulently gesturing, according to the report, and shouting 3 times, Allahu Akbar. Meanwhile, also in France, David, we got news out of Angers. I know you probably say that, what is it, Angers? Is it Angers?
I think it's au feu.
Yes. Angers, France. That's where they have wars with Germany and lose. Anyway, I know all the French
Or
people are
wars
going to be
or
mad
wars
at
with
me now.
anyone.
Yes,
Or
yes.
wars with anyone and lose.
I was seeing the. It's kind of an old joke now, but I was seeing when the president announced that the Americans were bombing the Iranian nuclear sites, people were saying France has surrendered. So there we are. Okay, at the Pont des Arts et Métiers Bridge in Angers. And what happened was 3 individuals, they assaulted a young woman returning from a party last April, and they have just been sentenced to, let's see, 2-year custodial sentence, which means nothing at all. And what they did was the victim was attacked by a man and two women on the bridge in Angers, suffered severe injuries, including a broken collarbone, cuts requiring stitches, and multiple bruises. Now you know why they call it Angers. She has missed a month and a half of work and counting. She was beaten after an argument erupted over her clothing. An argument erupted over her clothing. The ringleader of the attack was a 23-year-old gentleman named Mohammed Gadiri. What possible objection do you think he might have had to could Mohammed Gadiri have had to her clothing?
I'm going to go with she's not covering up in order to not be molested, and therefore she's basically inviting herself to be molested. And she probably said, "Hey, you don't tell me what to. This is my country. You don't tell me what to wear." And he said, "Oh yeah, I do. Islam rules the entire world." And then said, "Oh, you're obviously asking to be molested," and then beat the crap out of her. That's what I would guess.
That's pretty much 100% there, David. I don't know how you do it. It's amazing. And I do have a Mamdani story that you may find amusing. Let me get it here. This is, let's see. Okay. Go to my photos here. This is a screenshot from a video. Looks like Mamdani is speaking in a church, but it's a very far left church because it's got the rainbow, the gay rainbow business up there. And there he is on the left. You can see him in the back in a green shirt, and he's speaking. And the person, there's a heckler, and the heckler is a Muslim in a hijab, and she's yelling at him. And you can see from the screenshot, one of the things she says is, how do you pray every single day to Allah? How do you pray? And she's mad because he's appearing at this gay pride event. And she calls him a hidden Zionist ally and a hypocrite who sides with his oppressors. And I thought, well, there we see we've talked a lot about the alliance between the left and the Muslims in the United States and really all over the West, and how it's cracking under the strain of the left's obsession with sexual libertinism. And here it is again. He's trying to shore up his leftist base by going to this gay pride event, and he ends up getting yelled at by a Muslim.
Well, as we've mentioned, he is 12 or Shia. He is 12 or
Yes.
Shia. That's the pattern, right? I mean, it's become the pattern for Muslims in various places. But the main place where you saw this work was the Iranian Revolution.
Yep.
Iran had a monarchy for like 2,700 years. They had a monarchy for 2,700 years. How are you going to finally break that? Well, you had a bunch of communists, you had a bunch of socialists, and you had a bunch of radical 12er Shias who all had two things in common. One, they hated the regime. They hated their own regime. They hated the Shah. And they hated the West, Western imperialists and so on. And so, wait a minute, we're all on the same side here. So they worked together. They got rid of the Shah, and then the Muslims killed all the leftists who helped get them into power. So you're looking at that. That's the, hey, we're Muslims. We want to bring all this crashing to the ground. Who else wants to bring all this crashing to the ground? Communists, socialists, and each side thinks, oh, we'll unite until we get what we want, and then we'll deal with our disagreements and so on, not realizing you're going to lose that, guys. You're going to lose that one.
Yep. Meanwhile, we had the 20th anniversary of the July 7th, 2005 jihad attacks in London. And Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of Britain, he said, today the whole country will unite to remember the lives lost in the 7/7 attacks and all those whose lives were changed forever. We honor the courage shown that day. Blah, blah, blah. Those who tried to divide us failed. We stood together then and we stand together now against hate and for the values that define us of freedom, democracy, and the rule of law.
Those who seek to divide failed? What are you talking about?
Yeah, I thought that was the part that jumped out at me as well.
Who are those who want to divide?
The jihadis.
Yeah, in that context, it's the jihadis.
But he means Tommy Robinson.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, those who want to divide us have failed. Who's that? Oh, the people who want to draw attention to what the jihadis are doing. So you got the jihadis, they want to divide. And then you have the people who are pointing out, hey, we got a problem here because this calls for our violent subjugation. And then you have the people who want to put their heads in the sand and just let Islam take over. And no one's gonna stop us from doing that. No one's gonna stop us from paving the way for Islam. Although I have to say, Robert, given how there's been these insane reversals, like if you want to make a movie now about some attack or something like that, or we saw it with the signs about groping in Germany where they have to reverse it. If you want to say no groping, you have to say it's white German women who are groping poor Muslim immigrants with one leg and so on. you have to reverse everything. So at this point, I mean, we're far enough away. I mean, we're 20 years away from the 7/7 attacks. It's like I actually, it wouldn't surprise me. It just won't surprise me one day if they say, and on that day when white far right thugs attacked the train and Muslim jihadis went in to stop the far right from this attack and defend us all, and it's getting to that point where everything's reversed.
It's extremely close.
We
As a
live in
matter of
opposite
fact,
world.
I had not planned to talk about this story, but I set up a story for tomorrow on Jihad Watch, and so I will go into that here. Kari Asim, who is an imam, a prominent imam, and an Islamophobia expert in the UK, he was talking on July 6th, the day before the anniversary, and he said, the emotional and social toll of 7/7 on Muslim communities was profound and is felt by many to this day. So there you have it, right there. Islamic jihadis carry out jihad massacres, and Muslims are the victims.
Oh, they are after every Islamic terrorist attack.
Yep. And Kari Asim says Islamophobia has consistently increased in the last 20 years.
Oh yeah, hey Robert, that's the other interesting thing. That's the other interesting thing that I was mentioning earlier. Ties in with this. Zohran Mamdani talking about how his poor aunt can't even leave her apartment because she's so terrified of all the people who are attacking Muslims in the United States of America. And you're thinking, where does this happen? But you know, so suppose it happens somewhere. Suppose it happens. Someone attacks a Muslim. Then are you justified in being scared of non-Muslims in general?
Every last one.
Now think about this, guys. Okay. Because this is like Islamic supremacists baked in your head thinking. If any Muslim has ever been attacked in the history of the United States, then any Muslim is entirely rational and justified in being completely terrified of every non-Muslim, and you should be scared of even walking down the street, right?
Right.
But if you live in the same area and you say, hey, Muslims actually killed 3,000 people here and slaughtered tons of people, or if you're in the UK, killed a bunch of people on 7/7, or, you know, you were a victim of any of the other number of attacks, Israel or wherever, and you say, you know, I have a problem with this ideology, or I'm somewhat concerned about these other guys who are, you know, thumping their chests and blocking roads and so on. They say you have a mental illness. How could you think just because these guys slaughtered thousands of people that you should be at all concerned about the ideology or about anyone else in the community? How dare you? You must have an actual mental problem. And yet he can talk about his poor aunt who is scared to walk down the street because of Islamophobia. Yeah. Why is it okay for someone in your group to be terrified of a bunch of people who've never harmed her at all? But if someone else from a non-Muslim says it, and it's someone in your group that they're scared of because of what people in your group have done, they have a mental illness, and we need to combat Islamophobia.
Yep. 2 tiers, Zohran.
2 tiers.
2 tiers, Zohran.
Have people started calling him that?
I just did.
I'm going to call him that in the video.
But meanwhile, everything is good over in Russia. Oddly enough. I don't know if you saw this. Let me get the picture here. The Russian Orthodox hierarchy sat down with the Muslim leaders of Russia. There's the Patriarch of Moscow on the right-hand side of the picture. In the middle, Patriarch Kirill of Moscow. And then there's some Muslims in suits and ties on the left side of the picture.
See how the Orthodox show up in their traditional gear, while the Muslims just try to blend in and adapt to the culture.
Well,
I guess if the culture said show up naked, all the Muslims would have showed up naked, but the Orthodox, not them, buddy.
In Russia, anyway, that is the culture. The guys dress like that on the right. But anyway, at least the clerics. But the Muslims, they are showing how You're right, how assimilated and westernized or Russianized or whatever they are. So, Patriarch Kirill of Moscow and Al Rus, he meets with Judge Mohammed Abdasalam, Secretary General of the Muslim Council of Elders, at the patriarchal and synodal residence in the Danilov Monastery in Moscow. Now, the patriarch said, this experience of interaction shows that representatives of these two monotheistic religions can live in peace and work for achieving common goals. On the basis of the experience we have gained in Russia, it is rather easy for us to establish and develop relations with Muslims all over the world. It's easy. This meeting was so good, the patriarch says, this shows we can live in peace. One meeting. Must have been a great meeting.
Yeah. Hey, let's get on the phone with all the Christians who are being massacred in Nigeria and tell them, hey, these Muslims in nice suits sat down with some Orthodox guys in Russia. So you know, you can get along with all the Muslims who are killing you in the name of Allah.
Mm-hmm. All you have to do is have a nice meeting.
Yeah. And hey, church in Syria that just got bombed and, dozens of you got killed. They had a meeting in Moscow. So, everything's good now. And you shouldn't have a problem with all the jihadis who are slaughtering you in the name of Allah.
And he says, it is rather easy for us to establish and develop relations with Muslims all over the world. So I think if it's so easy, then Patriarch Kirill should be put in charge globally of ending the jihad. Mm-hmm. And all he has to do is have a few meetings with these guys, and everything is going to be great.
Yeah, meet with dude. You can. I mean, we're a little skeptical. We're a little skeptical here. See, we think, oh, you're in Putin territory where you can't get too far out of line or he'll crush you. But other than that, he's gonna love your religion as long as he needs you to be fighters for him and stuff. And so you guys have a pretty good environment there in Russia for this kind of thing. So we'd say, hey, it's kind of a combination of factors in your particular area that allows you to get along with Muslims. Just as there are people in the United States who can get along with Muslims. You can get along with Muslims at school. You can get along with Muslims at work and so on. There are places that allow that. To say something about how this would work in the rest of the world, that's like insanely delusional. Robert, it reminds me of the new atheists. The new atheists, like the core, everyone keeps doing making the same stupid mistake, but really came to the surface with the new atheists when you had Richard Dawkins and Sam Harris and Daniel Dennett and Christopher Hitchens. They're just sitting around in a room and saying, sipping on champagne and stuff or whatever these guys do, and looked around and said, hey, we get along, and we're doing a great job, and we're successful, and we're moral. We're not out slaughtering everyone who disagree. You know what? Why can't everyone be like us? Why isn't everyone like us? What do we have in common here? None of us are religious. Oh, so guess what? See, all we have to do is get rid of religion, then everyone's going to be like us. And they actually that was their case. Hey, if we get rid of religion, everything's going to be like this scientific utopia type deal of all these guys sitting around and just making advancements for the good of humanity. And what actually happened? They basically paved the way for Islam to move in even more rapidly, and they're a bit confused. Like, why isn't anything getting better? Because they had millions of people who declared themselves atheists and so on, following this. Hey, we can make the world better by all becoming atheists, and then they're looking around, going, we had millions and millions and millions of new atheists, and the world doesn't seem to be getting better even slightly. Everyone seems to be going completely insane. But people keep making the same mistake of like, here's how things work in my little group, in my area of the world. Therefore, this is how they would work everywhere else. Mm-hmm. That is like huge mistake. And here you have Christians making the same mistake. Hey, look, we're getting along. We could do it here. Then it could be anywhere. Let's go talk to Boko Haram. Try it. Prove us wrong.
He made more mistakes too, Patriarch Kirill of Moscow. He said that Orthodox Christians and Muslims have common understanding of a whole range of major issues related to human life.
Like
This is
Muta.
yeah, exactly. This is especially important now when moral and other fundamental principles such as attitude toward family, marriage, and the purpose of man are being revised or even derailed in many countries of the so-called civilized Western world.
This guy's about 5 to 10 years behind the times, Robert. You had just a few years ago. You had all these conservative commentators talking about how we should unite with Islam. Christians should unite with Islam to combat the far left and so on. Failing to mention that, isn't it interesting that all these Muslim politicians end up on the far left? Like, why would you think why would you on the right think they're on your side? But we're going to agree that, they shouldn't be having drag queen story hour and things like that. Yeah, but they're going to disagree with you on some other things. And just what broke that down? The October 7th. That's what broke that down. Then
Really?
all these you had back then, you had all these conservative shows and stuff wanted Muslims on their shows to show how they're going to unite and work together to combat the far left. And then you had the October 7th attack, and all these conservative commentators who were planning on working with Muslims and stuff started noticing the Muslims were cheering for Hamas the entire time. And yay, slaughter the Jews, get the Jews, yeah. And they're like, this might not work out. Except for the few that were willing to adapt, like Candace Owens and a couple others. They're willing to side with the Muslims against the Jews.
Yeah. The reason why I said really is because I was thinking about all the Christians who started rooting for Hamas. And I encountered a couple of those. That's actually why I wrote my book about anti-Semitism, but it's another story. Anyway, that is Patriarch Kirill of Moscow reflecting...
Hey, hang on. I did want to point out, because this is a trajectory that we should all be paying attention to. So you had conservatives, and they were looking at like all the far left LGBTQ stuff, and they're like, hey, we could work together with Muslims on this. We're on the same page. And then let's get together and we'll be a united front. And then, a bunch of people just slaughtered tons of Jews and were raping them and everything. And let's talk about this. Oh no, now Muslims are telling us that Hamas is the good guys and so on. And so that alliance broke down. But you're right. Now you have all these people jumping on the hating Jews bandwagon. And now they're the ones who are warming up to Islam.
Oh, yeah.
You had the Hodge twins, whose channel is called the Conservative Twins, and they're actually like giving Islamic talking points now. It was shocking, Robert. They were trying to say how Iran doesn't actually want a nuclear bomb because, according to the Quran, if anyone kills a man, it's as if he's killed all mankind. These are conservative commentators, right?
Yeah.
Giving Muslim talking points from like 20 years ago that we've destroyed thousands of times, and now they're giving them to a new generation that Islam is peaceful and wonderful.
Yeah, something a little bit off topic, but connected, related, you'll see. I felt like I was in a time warp myself this week when I just happened to see on Twitter, on X, some Muslim guy saying, the Quran tells Muslims to kill non-Muslims? LOL, and all these emojis of ridiculing laughter like it was the most absurd thing in the history of the universe.
And you quoted a bunch of verses, didn't you?
Yeah, because that's what I do, And so I quoted 2, 191, 481, 489, 491, and 9.5, all of which say kill them wherever you find them. 9.5 actually says kill the idolaters wherever you find them. And 47.4, when you meet the unbelievers, strike the necks. And it went insanely viral with like 1.5 million views, and hundreds of Muslims saying I was an evil idiot, a pig, the devil incarnate, all these things. But the most common thing that they said was, you're taking these verses out of context. And I thought, what is this, 2003?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard that in years. And yet that was all they had to say about this. And anyway, I think I'm going to have to trying to start making some more videos and I think I'm gonna have to do one about that and give the context.
It is interesting how something can be an argument 20 years ago, and then we destroy it and we destroy it and destroy it, and it's dead. They stop using it because they can't even bring it up anymore because it's been crushed so horribly. And then so we stop attacking it because they stopped using it, and then 20 years goes by and they'll start using the same argument again because people aren't familiar with it anymore, and they can use it to deceive people once again.
Yep. Well, not today, Satan. But anyway, we will. I'll have to get back to that. I hope tomorrow maybe I'll make that.